everyone. Let's see if we can get everything working the way it should. Hello, everyone. It's good to be back live. Good to see everybody. We are going to be answering some immigration questions this evening. We are currently live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I am Carol Williams. I am the managing attorney at Williams Immigration. We are a boutique immigration law firm, which means the only cases that we help people with are immigration cases. So you guys know I like to come live every so often and answer questions. And so tonight is one of those nights. But first I wanted to talk a little bit about naturalization cases and how they are a little bit different, or how they're going to be processed a little bit differently. We've got some new policy in place, which essentially says that the Immigration Service is going to be looking at not only it's going to be sort of looking at good moral character in a slightly different way. It's going to be looking at it in terms of making sure that you haven't done anything that they think is fully against your good moral character. But they are also, this is the new part, they're also going to be looking at what you have affirmatively done to be of good moral character. So it's no longer a case where we just have to show that you haven't done anything wrong, like you don't have a criminal record, that sort of thing. Now we're going to have to show not only, do you not have a criminal record, not only have you not done anything that the government doesn't like, we're also going to have to show that you have done things affirmatively to show that you are a person of good moral character. So that's a fairly significant difference in the citizenship applications that we, and how the Immigration Service is going to be processing them. So, we'll probably be submitting, documents about your community service and what you've been doing and how you, just how you've been living your life. So probably, a lot more information that we'll be submitting to the Immigration Service. So that's a pretty significant change. So I wanted to come on here and get you guys up to speed on that change. And then I wanted to field any questions that you guys may have about U.S. immigration. We've seen a lot of changes recently, so wanted to hop on here and field some questions. If you have any, I'm more than happy to answer them. Let me see here. And again, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section below, and I will take a look at them and we can have a usual conversation that we have. Let's see here. Do we have any questions? Don't know. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Right. Let's see what questions we have. You'll know I'm a slow scroller. I apologize. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. All right, so you guys can go ahead and put your questions in the chat. The chat that you have for me, immigration related, and I am happy to answer them. Let's see here. And you can also feel free to share this live with your friends and your peeps if you think they might But I'm glad I did definitely want to let you guys know about that change to the citizenship application. That's going to be pretty big. Not a deal breaker by any means, but it'll definitely change how applications are filed, the types of information that we put in those applications. Um, and another thing that I really wanted to talk to you guys about tonight is I know everything seems really comes right now, but cases are getting approved. Cases are being filed. Cases are getting approved. We are getting approval notices coming to my office, to my colleague's office. I talk with my colleagues often, so cases are getting approved. So um, certainly, it is not all rosy. The world of U.S. immigration right now, but cases are getting approved. So I always want to make sure that people know that and understand that. We are absolutely getting approvals. Everything's getting denied. So just really keep that in mind, right? I know it may seem a little, I know that may seem hard to keep in mind right now, but cases are getting approved. Um, so I wanted you guys to know that, to truly, because my office is seeing approvals, which is a good thing. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to put those in the chat for me, and I will answer them. Let me scroll these comments for a little bit. I see people are joining. I feel like you guys are a little shy this evening, which is kind of rare for y'all. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to wait for a little bit before they come in. And let's see here. And you can ask questions that are based on your family-based cases, based on employment-based cases, either of those. Maybe, it would probably help if I opened up the chat over here. That way I could see it. All right, what questions do y'all have? Kelton. Hi, Kelton. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I see that you logged in. Hey, Brenda. How are you? Sharon. Tish. I hope you guys are doing well on this fine Thursday afternoon. Well, evening, my time. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know where everybody is watching from. Let's see here. So we do have one question. Let me see. And that is USCIS still processing cases for immediate relatives? So the short answer is absolutely yes, they are. And for those of you that may not know, an immediate relative is a case where it is a U.S. citizen and they all have sponsored either their spouse, their dependent child, or their parent. And dependent child, for immigration purposes, just so that we're all sort of working on the same page, is a child who is under 21 and unmarried. So the second you are 20 years old and you get married, you are no longer considered a dependent for immigration purposes and no longer allowed to be under your parents' applications, whether those be non-immigrant applications like HSLs, O's, or their green card application. So yes, the short answer is absolutely the government is still processing those cases. They're still processing because we're still filing. So they're absolutely still processing those. We had an interview about a month ago. Hey, Colton, we had an interview about a month and a half ago, but there's been no update. The officer did mention that we would be approved. That happens pretty often. So oftentimes the officer will recommend a case for approval. They will tell you that they have recommended your case for approval, but there's still things on the back end after your interview that the officer will have to do. So if your background check hasn't fully come in yet, they can't actually approve your case right there during the interview. So they'll still interview. You'll still have your conversation, and and then they'll wait for background checks to come in. If your biometrics haven't come in yet, they'll wait for those. If anything that they're specifically waiting on, um, they will oftentimes do the interview and just wait on those things in the background. The Immigration Service now, we know, because of um, executive orders, is doing more vetting. So there are processes in the background that are going to have to happen. So a month and a half, although I know that's a long time when you're waiting on your green card. It's not so long in our world, in our immigration world. So a month and a half doesn't sort of freak me out too much. Um, but again, I understand that that's a very long month and a half when we're waiting for the next step, the next stage in your life to kind of, to move forward. So I definitely get that. Um, what else? Are CHNV adjustment cases being approved? To be honest, I don't know that those are being processed right now. I could be wrong. I don't know that those are being processed. I thought I saw something a while ago that said that those cases were on hold. Don't quote me on that, but I'm not sure that those cases are being processed. Um, so that I don't know. I don't know that like for sure off the top of my head. Um, my pleasure, Kelton. I'm glad that was helpful. Um, let me scroll here. What else do we have? What else do we have? And Carlton, good luck. I hope everything works out well. I like to celebrate. I like to celebrate any wins, even if they did not come from my office. So I think that's important. So I am claiming a win for you. So hopefully you will you will get a win quickly. You'll get your decision fairly quickly. Let's see, what else do we have here? I don't see any more questions right now, folks. Oh, what are you saying, Captain? They were on hold. CHNB, I'm thinking. They were on hold, but in order from the judge for them to process. Okay, I will absolutely take your word for that. I'm not sure about that in any sort of definitive way. Um, that is not something I have looked at even this week. So, but yeah, last I heard they were on hold. So there's a lot of processes that are sort of off again, on hold, one step forward, sort of two step backwards. TPS is one that is notable. That is um, TPS for many countries is sort of winding its way through the court system in terms of um, when the official TPS will end for some countries, that is winding its way through the court system. The White House tried to cut that date short for a few countries, and people sued, and it took it to court. And so, one of the things that the judges were saying was that certainly you can end TPS. That's certainly within the purview of DHS, but how it is ended has become a bit of an issue, and when it ends is a bit of an issue. Someone is asking, do you think officers have too much discretion in making adjudication decisions? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the system is set up so that, like, the entire immigration system is set up so that um, that officers have discretion. So oftentimes, what I tell my clients is one of the great things about the immigration system is that it's run by people, and one of the really frustrating things about the immigration system is that it's run by people, right? So we don't have um, robots or AI running the immigration system. So because there are people running the system, there's going to be discretion pretty much throughout the whole thing. So it's not really a matter of whether or not I like it or don't like it, or think they have too much discretion or not enough discretion. That is just the system that I've been working with for a while, like over 20 years at this point. So they go in there, they do their thing, and we do our thing. Sometimes immigration can be an adversarial sort of back and forth, but that is again how the system is set up. So we just kind of bob and weave and take the system as we have it, and do our best to sort through it for our clients, and try to get those wins for our clients. That is that is always my goal, is to get a win for a client, whether or not um, an officer has discretion or not. So, you let's see, what else do we have? What other questions do y'all have for me? It doesn't have to be about an individual, something that you may experience or a friend's experiencing. It can be the question, it can be along the lines of uh, path divergences question over on YouTube about um, adjudication decisions, that sort of thing. Because the system is complicated. Our immigration system is an incredibly complex system. Um, the Immigration Service is now saying that um, for family-based green card cases, they don't have to issue requests for further evidence. And technically, they never really had to, right? Like, it's again, it goes back to that sort of discretion thing. It was kind of policy, right? It's sort of like an internal policy. Like, don't just deny something off the bat, right? Ask the individual who is applying if they've missed something. Ask them for evidence that they may not have submitted. Ask them, if the officer needs clarification, submit to them RFE. I always look at an RFE as a good thing, right? Like, again, I don't particularly like to get them in my cases. I would rather file everything, have it approved the first go around, and bada bing, call it a day. But that's, again, not how it works, right? The officers will have questions, they will issue RFEs, but now the policy and what they are saying is that they may back away from issuing RFEs for sort of the basic information, the basic documents. So if those basics are missing in the initial application, the Immigration Service can now just flat out send you a denial notice. And so while some people may be able to just refile, once they know what's missing, refiling means another filing fee, right? Refiling means more time. Depending on, let's say you're filing a green card application, refiling means that now you've got to remain in your non-immigrant status, that much longer, because your application is going to take that much longer. And so refiling could in fact change your overall case strategy. Which, I mean, we do, like, for some of our clients. If we've got to refile, we refile. If we've got to switch up a case strategy, we do that too, for various reasons. But it's really super important that when you're filing now, that you have all the documents that you need. Um, I'm a proponent of holding a filing until we get everything, so that it doesn't get denied, right off the bat. It doesn't get denied like a month later, because the officer thinks that we are missing documents, or, if it sits in line to get on an officer's desk for 6 months, gets on that officer's desk and something's missing, that, and then they just issue a denial. That's hard. That's really hard to work through. Not impossible, but it's hard, right? So immigration, that is one of the many things that makes immigration complicated. So that's something else that we have seen coming out of the immigration service recently. So there we go. it's it's always, the targets are always moving, but we're always looking out for them. So let me know if you guys have any more questions. Um, if not, I actually have a very early meeting tomorrow morning, which I still have to prepare a little bit more for, which I know is crazy because it is very much nighttime my time. So if you guys have any more questions, just pop them in the chat or in the comments. Path to Virgin. Are there any field offices you treat more strict than others? That's a good question. I don't know. Um, I don't know. The way that I put together applications is, you know, I always tell my clients, the more documents the merrier, right? Like don't self-edit. Send me everything that you have. So I tend to think that our applications have a lot of evidence and a lot of stuff when we're filing. In the hopes, frankly, that we don't get an RFE, right? That we don't get an RFE, we don't get a denial, we don't get a notice of intent to deny, we don't get any of those things. That's always the goal. But I don't know that I think some offices are more strict than others. All offices are working with you know, the same instructions, um, the same law, the same policy memos that come down from USCIS. So I don't know that I would say one field office is more strict than another. I don't know that I would say that. And certainly in today's climate of immigration, there's a lot of changes. So I think some people might think one office is stricter than another or harder than another if maybe they are not adapting to all the changes as quickly as another office. Um, as much as we on the outside, as much as my colleagues and I, like other immigration attorneys, as much as we're trying to keep up with all of the changes and to help our clients through all the policy changes, all the legal changes, keep on track of all of the court cases and, just all the things, right? The folks that work inside the field offices are doing the exact same thing. They're just doing it from their perspective of being inside the government. So these changes that come fast they don't just impact the lawyers and the immigrants and the clients on the outside. They also impact folks on the inside who work for the government. The folks that work at the field offices, the folks that work at the consulate. So I don't know that I think one office is more strict than another. I think some offices may adapt maybe a little quicker than some others. So maybe that's where some folks are thinking one office is more strict than another. But everybody's just trying to, take all the changes in stride, and just everyone's just trying to do the best that they can on, from their respective positions, whether you are inside the agency or whether you are, outside the agency filing things. It's a good question. I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions, my friends? Any other questions? Check all of the things. But we are live on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you guys have any sort of case specific questions that or you're considering filing, you're considering getting a green card, you're considering hiring someone that's not a U.S. citizen, You can certainly reach out to me at the phone number at the bottom of your screen. Um, and the phone number is 954-903-1337. Or you can also click the link in my bio and schedule a consultation. And we're happy to chat and see how we can help. Um, let's see here. Let me see, just to make sure before we sign off, if there are any more questions. I don't see any more questions. Going once, going twice. If no more questions, y'all. I am gonna go and make some dinner and prepare for my meeting in the morning, and then I will be back again tomorrow evening to go live and hang out with you guys and chat. So this has been fun. Thanks for all the questions. It's been a good time. I will chat with y'all tomorrow evening. Talk to you soon. Bye.